All right, let's dive into a story that kind of rewrites history. We're talking about ancient rituals, unbelievable preservation, and a culture that completely changes what we thought we knew. We are going to find the oldest mummies in the world.
Okay, so let me ask you something. When you hear the word mummy, all wrapped up, hidden in some ancient tomb, what place pops into your head? Just take a second, picture it.
I'm gonna bet you pictured Egypt, right? Pyramids, pharaohs, the whole deal. Well, what if I told you the real pioneers of mummification lived thousands of years before the Egyptians, and on a totally different continent?
That's right. To find the world's first mummies, we're not going to the Nile. We're heading to South America to uncover the incredible story of the mummies you've probably never even heard of.
So, let me introduce you to the Chinchorro people. These weren't city builders or kings. They were communities of hunter-gatherers, fisherfolk who lived and breathed the ocean along the coast of what we now call Chile and Peru.
And here is where the timeline just gets staggering. The Chinchorro started making mummies about 7,000 years ago. Now get this, the very first Egyptian mummies, they wouldn't show up for another 2,000 years. The Chinchorro weren't just a little bit earlier, they were the OGs, the true originators.
So who were these people? And how on earth did they develop such a complex tradition so long ago? Let's get to know these people by the sea.
You know, the Chinchorro's world was totally different from the big empires we usually study. They lived in small groups, right on the coast. Their entire life revolved around the ocean, fishing, hunting sea lions. And they did all of this without agriculture, without building big cities, and without any kings or writing to pass down their rules.
But they had a powerful, silent partner helping them out, the Atacama Desert. I mean, this is one of the driest places on the entire planet. The air is so dry that bodies buried there would mummify naturally. It was this unique environment that probably gave them the idea to take it a step further and develop their own amazing artificial mummification.
So you've got this incredible place and these resourceful people, but what makes this story truly special is who this ritual was for. This wasn't something reserved for the rich and powerful. This was a ritual for everyone.
And this is the key difference right here. In Egypt, mummification was basically a VIP service. It was for pharaohs, for the wealthy, a symbol of ultimate status. But for the Chinchorro, it was this beautiful, inclusive practice. It was for regular people, for their neighbors, and even for the smallest members of their community.
And that just blows my mind. It proves that developing complex rituals and incredible technical skill didn't require a giant civilization. It shows that you can have these massive cultural achievements coming from small, close-knit communities with deep, shared beliefs.
And maybe the most touching part of this whole story, it was often the children, and even newborn infants, who were given the most detailed and careful mummification. It just speaks volumes about how important every single life was to them, and how hard they worked to keep the memory of their youngest alive. You know, this wasn't some one-and-done recipe either. Their techniques actually changed over thousands of years. Archaeologists call them different styles, like the earlier black style, where they basically rebuilt the body, and the later red style, which used this really vibrant red paint. It was a living tradition, always evolving.
So, that brings us to the absolute heart of the mystery. We've got the who, the what, the where, and the when. But that still leaves the biggest question of all. Why?
Seriously, why did this small group of fishers, living on the edge of the world 7,000 years ago, put so much time and energy into mummifying their dead?
Well, we don't have a time machine, so we can't know for sure. But archaeologists have some really compelling ideas. Maybe it was about keeping their ancestors physically part of the community, a way of preserving social memory. Or maybe it was a powerful ritual that bonded them together, strengthening their identity. It could have even been a way for them to cope with high mortality rates and the stresses of their environment. But this story isn't just locked away in the past. It's happening right now. And today, this incredible ancient legacy is facing a very modern threat.
Just recently, in 2021, UNESCO officially recognized the Chinchorro culture and their mummies as a World Heritage Site. This was a huge deal, a global acknowledgement of just how important these people are to the story of all of humanity.
But here's the unbelievable irony. That super dry desert air that protected them for thousands of years, it's now their biggest weakness. Because of climate change, humidity is starting to rise even in the driest desert on Earth, and that little bit of extra moisture is enough to wake up microbes that are literally eating away at the 7,000-year-old history.
And so that leaves us with a really tough question, doesn't it? For 7 millennia, the Atacama Desert was their perfect guardian. But now, in a world that we are changing, can we be their guardians? What happens next is really up to us, and it will decide if this amazing chapter of our shared human story survives for anyone else to see. Thanks for joining me.